am not sorry. And I am not sorry for the things I did do.
The world has certainly witnessed some of the most heinous and senseless acts of violence throughout history. What's more disturbing is the total lack of regret expressed by some of the renowned criminals throughout their trials. As the horrible details of their crimes were disclosed.
And there is no place for you in an open, law-abiding society.
Some or them mocked the court and even laughed in the face of their victims. Others had a cool, calculating approach, displaying no feeling or guilt of their conduct.
I'm not saying I regret it because
these criminals displayed blatant contempt for human life, and their trials were characterized by a sheer lack of empathy. Here are the 5 most prolific killers who showed no remorse in court. Number 1, Michael Swanson. Michael Swanson's name has come to associated with needless violence and misery. He was born in Iowa in 1993, and he suffered from mental health concerns for the rest of his life. Despite these obstacles, Swanson was intellectually brilliant. However, his potential career was cut short when at age of 17 he committed a double homicide. Swanson robbed a convenience store in Algana, Iowa, and then shot and took the lives of 2 shop employees before leaving.
She was shot in the cheek
And after a high-speed chase, he was arrested in Minnesota and charged. Swanson was found guilty of the crime in 2011 and sentenced to life in prison.
And there is no place for you in an open, law-abiding society.
With no chance of release, he displayed no remorse for his conduct during his trial and punishment. Even beaming and grinning in court, he made nasty and inappropriate remarks to the victims' relatives and showed a complete lack of empathy at his trial. For the 2 lives he took in 2010, Michael Swanson displayed a total lack of remorse in court. He made vulgar and inappropriate remarks about the victims, and even laughed and smirked during the proceedings. Swanson's behavior in court was unexpected and infuriated many people who were waiting for a display of sorrow and an apology from him. He was asked how he felt when he committed the crime. He proceeded to say that he felt powerful.
What did you feel when you pulled the trigger? I felt powerful.
Swabson was sentenced to spend the rest of his life in jail for taking lives of Sheila Myers, 61, and Vicky Bowman Hall, 47, on November 15, 2010. Swanson turned of the television cameras and cursed as the jury convicted him. Swanson was bad, according to the judge, and lecturing him would be futile. Swanson's solicitor said that his client had a lengthy history of mental health issues and that the deaths may have been averted if he had been given adequate medical help. Swanson is still serving his time. However, the victims' relatives continue to grieve their loss, hoping that Swabson will one day express genuine regret for his acts. Swanson's case is a terrible reminder of the impact that one person's actions can have on so many people's lives. Number 2, Ronnie O'Neal. Ronnie O'Neal is an American man who rose to prominence after being arrested for taking the lives of his girlfriend and their 9-year-old daughter in 2018. The horrible incident shocked the entire nation. Many people wondered how someone could do such a heinous atrocity. O'Neal grew up in Florida and had difficulty upbringing. He had a history of substance abuse and had previously been in conflict with the authorities. Despite these obstacles, O'Neal was able to retain a job and provide for his family. Unfortunately, something snapped in 2018. His contact got increasingly unpredictable, and his behavior became increasingly erratic. O'Neal assaulted his girlfriend with a knife and a gun in the night, taking a life of her and their daughter. Afterwards, he set fire to their residence. O'Neal was subsequently apprehended and charged with first-degree murder on 2 counts. During his trial, he defended himself.
This is going to show he did not see me shoot his mom.
And made outlandish accusations that were made part of a police Illuminati plot. He also expressed no regret for his conduct, stating that his girlfriend and kid were sacrificed for the greater good. When he asked his son in front of the court that did he beat him, to which his son replied, yes.
Did I hurt you that night of this incident?
Yes.
Afterwards, Ronnie started to yell loudly, saying that they were playing a fraudulent recording of him.
You think I'm here to play around with y'all? God damn it!
Despite his attempt to defend himself, O'Neal was found guilty. He was also accused by the prosecution of inventing evidence. When he was found guilty, the judge went on to add that this was the worst case she'd ever seen in her life.
This is the worst case I have ever seen as far as the facts go.
And she'd seen quite a few atrocities. He also indicated that he was not sorry for what he did. O'Neill was sentenced to 3 life terms plus 90 years without parole, and his kid was adopted by the detective who cared for him the night Ronnie O'Neill attempted to stab him. Several have criticized O'Neill's ability to defend himself in court, claiming that he was not mentally competent, and yet he kept on yelling. Others have questioned the legal system's efficiency in dealing with people like O'Neill who suffer from mental illness and are violent. Whatever the outcome, if these disputes on thing is certain, O'Neill's lack of remorse for his acts has had a long-lasting impact. However, his son will live a safe and prosperous life.
Number 3, Randall Moore. Randall Moore, better known as Randy, is a convicted criminal who rose to fame after being arrested for taking the life of his wife.
Randy abducted, assaulted, and took the life of his estranged wife in November of 2009, a month after she sought a protection order against him. Randy also shot Des Moines police officer Todd Rowland as he reacted to calls for aid emanating from the couple's former flat. Randy, who was charged with first-degree display, no remorse during his trial, stating that he had taken the life of her wife in self-defense. Nevertheless, court testimony revealed that victim was unarmed and had been shot many times at close range, calling Randy's allegation into question. Notwithstanding his denial of guilt, the evidence produced in the court called his defense into question Randy's lack of remorse and attempt to rationalize conduct, together with the facts presented in court, indicated that he indeed committed a cold-blooded crime. Shella Lynch had been waiting for Randall Moore's sentence for more than a year since he took the life of her daughter, Teresa Ann. She told Randy, "What you did to my daughter was horrible, terrible, and despicable."
What you did to my daughter, Teresa Ann Marie Lynch, was evil, hateful, and despicable.
Lynch said in victim impact statement given at Moore's sentence.
You are now dead and rotting and repulsive to me.
Since you couldn't take away her spirit, you took her life. To which Moore replied, "Examine the journals. She despised you.
Read the journals she wrote. She hated you. She hated you. You're a loser."
Moore was also given the option to make a statement before being sentenced. He attempted to rationalize taking the life of his son's mother more than 10 minutes. "I feel absolutely no regret for Teresa Ann's death." These words from Moore elicited gasp from people in the courtroom at points. "I hope there are more examples like this when people don't want their spouse to see their children." Moore added, "I hope it becomes more common." When responding to Randy's judge, the judge warned the court that he could not breach the line of judicial decorum. "I believe what I've heard Novat gave 3 life terms to Moore for the crime against Teresa Ann Lynch. Moore in 25 years jail for taking the life of Officer Rowland. He give new meaning to the word evil. I've never seen anything like you, Novak," the judge added. Outside the courthouse after the sentencing, a weeping Sheila Lynch said the day went better than she could have imagined. Her daughter's assailant had been apprehended, and her family is moving on. Number 4, Keith Ferguson. Keith Ferguson belonged to Kalkaska County in Michigan. He was a family man with 4 children. However, he was convicted of taking the life of his wife, Tiffany. It was reported that she filed for divorce in September, according to court documents, but the divorce had yet to be finalized. According to the investigators, there was a divorce pending between him and his wife, like I just said, and there were certain things that happened between the two of them that probably set him off. Keith Ferguson reportedly took his wife's life using a firearm on November 18th at their home in Cold Springs Township, then took his 4 children, ages 3, 9, 11, and 13, to their grandparents' home in Excelsior Township. While attempting to take children as hostages, he shot and took the life of their grandfather, Reber. The children fled to a neighbor's house for assistance, who was shocked to hear what had happened. However, this neighbor happened to be a Calscada sheriff's deputy, who contacted 911 right away. At the same time, Keith Ferguson also contacted 911 from his house in Orange Township, saying he had a captive and threatened to shoot any responding authorities. Keith Ferguson was safely apprehended after a 7-hour standoff at a residence on Gold Road in Orange Township. He did not hurt the captive he was holding at his house after being arrested. He showed very little regret for what he had done. A Ferguson 40 of Kalkaska was arraigned in Kalkaska District Court for his crimes. Ferguson was sentenced in the morning by a judge who stated that there was something fundamentally wrong with him. He kept on cursing the judges and everyone present in the courtroom. When the victim's friend told the court Tiffany about Keith, he said, "Just sentence me, whatever."
Understand me? I'm not doing this for these stupid cameras and these inbreds.
When asked about his relations with his children, he showed no interest in meeting them in the future. Ferguson was charged with first degree with no chance of release. He was also to be denied any contact with his 4 children, but an official revealed that the children are older they will be permitted to write letters to their father. Prosecution of the victim's family openly expressed their satisfaction with Ferguson's punishment. Number 5. Thomas Michael. Thomas Michael T.J. Lang is a convicted criminal who garnered global attention in 2001 after he opened fire at Chardon High School in Ohio. Lane's actions startled the entire neighborhood. He was born in a tiny village in Ohio and reared there. He had a difficult life with a background of substance abuse. Lane's father was likewise imprisoned for numerous offenses, leaving him feeling alienated and furious. Lane was able to attend high school despite these obstacles, where he became regarded as a loner and an outcast. Lane entered the cafeteria at Chardon High School in February 27, 2012, and opened fire, taking the lives of 3 students and injuring 3 more. The tragedy stunned the town and ignited a national debate about scun-ghoul violence. Lane allegedly exited the building after the incident. According to the witnesses, he was chased out of the building by a teacher and detained a short while later outside the school. Lane was eventually charged with 3 charges of aggravated deaths, 2 counts of attempted deaths, and 1 count of felonious assault. He was kept as a juvenile at first, pending further judicial proceedings. Lane showed little remorse for his crimes during this trial, frequently grinning and making vulgar gestures in court. He even showed up to the court wearing a t-shirt with an inappropriate word inscribed on it. Lane's defense team contended that he was mentally ill at the time. However, Lane decided to cross all boundaries. He started to curse the victims' families and the judge in the room. During the hearing, prosecutor David Joyce stated that he would prosecute Lane as an adult and bring 3 counts. At the hearing, Lane acknowledged firing 10 rounds of ammo during the incident. He also informed the cops that he didn't know about the victims were chosen at random. Yet a witness who claimed to have known the distributed teenager knew several of the victims. Lane pled guilty to all charges against him, acting if he didn't care about the consequences at all. Moreover, Lane and 2 other offenders escaped from Allen Oakwood Correctional Facility in Lima, Ohio in September of 2014. However, they were caught shortly after. As for their survivors of the Chardon High School, they continued to advocate for tougher gun legislation and harsher sentences for criminals like T.J. Lane.